Live from the Washington State Department on the U.S. elections. Grace, thank you for joining us here on Bottomline once again. So U.S. President Donald Trump has been in the news for allegations of downplaying dangers of the coronavirus. In that rally in Michigan, he proudly boasted of the huge crowd there, saying this isn't the crowd of someone who comes in second place. What are people saying about this in the wake of COVID-19?
Well, I think many of us who are American citizens are just a little bit concerned because of course, the latest events with Bob Woodward's book revealing that the president knew about COVID-19 and the dangers of it and how contagious it was back in February with his discussion with Xi Jinping. Now, just to give you an idea, at that point, when those discussions were being made with Bob Woodward, there were 0 cases in the U.S. And now we're at 6.39 infected, we're at 191,000 dead, and counting. So these things have become a bit of an issue and have come to the forefront of the election. And in addition to the concerns everyone has about the mail postal service, the traditional way people have always voted. And COVID-19 has also created a lot of questions about how in-person voting may or may not occur in the states that are doing it. So it's affecting, you see a sea change to some extent. Of course, those who support Donald Trump will support him no matter what. That's just the reality. You can't expect them necessarily to change, but there is a little bit of an uptick in concerns regarding the fact that there was some knowledge, there were mitigating actions that could have been taken earlier on.
All right, let's talk about more, that book by Bob Woodward. I mean, we've seen massive crowds coming to Trump's rallies. Is this book likely to change anything for him in this election?
In terms of the supporters, his diehard supporters are his diehard supporters. One cannot speak either way about what they're thinking because they continue to support him based on what you see on social media and what you see on some of the statistics or the polls that are put out to his supporters. But one thing about American politics and American elections is at the end of the day, what you do see is when a person goes and casts their ballot, it's not oftentimes what you hear on the news. So there is, in many states, especially the battleground states, like Wisconsin and other places, you're seeing Joe Biden eke a bit of a lead in terms of the polling. But the sad thing about, again, American politics, you don't know what the polling numbers say because a lot of these polls stated that Hillary Clinton was a shoo-in for the position and Donald Trump won as president. So we're in a very delicate space. I think the concerns are if one looks later at the statistics of those going to the rallies, you may end up seeing a high number of those infected. And you're not going to see this until maybe November or December, stories of people saying, I went to a rally and I contracted COVID-19 and I'm sick, or someone I know passed away or got sick. So those are things that everyone and all the experts are extremely concerned about. The lack of social distancing, the lack of masking, which is really part of the angle that Joe Biden is picking up on. He's essentially saying that it is American to care for each other. It is very American to think about others before you think of yourself, because today's 9/11. We are recognizing those who died in 9/11, and yet we're looking at 191,000 dead, when in 9/11, we had about 2,977 people who died on 9/11. This is the current COVID-19 victims and those who've passed away are 64 times estimated the number of those who died on 9/11. So these are things that people do think about, and the Bob Woodward book and all the other books that have been coming out lately are creating a bit of an issue. And you see organizations like Midas Touch, the Linking Project, really ramping in along with the Biden campaign on all these revelations that are coming up. And the concern, I think, with those in the White House, with those in the campaign is really damage control. How are we going to stay on, stay on point with our messaging and keep the campaign supporters still excited. So it's going to be very interesting.
Right, and of course we've seen
Definitely
Joe Biden also jump on, Bob Woodward's book and calling Trump's betrayal a life or death betrayal of the American people, following revelations that he may have known about the coronavirus. Joe Biden himself is having his not really rallies but meetings, in small setups. How is this working for his campaign?
It's positive. You're seeing a lot of veterans. The statistics with regards to veterans, about 64% of veterans are starting to support Joe Biden, which is a real huge problem for, a commander-in-chief. I mean, traditionally, the numbers for an incumbent president have always been much higher than that of the competitor. So those are things that I think if I were working with the Trump camp, those are things you should really start focusing on, reconciling some of the things that were said in the book, some of the things that you've heard before. You've heard Trump say about John McCain and the Gold Star families. Those are things that have to be fixed if he has any chance. But then even if he reconciles with the military, you still have the problem of the revelation that he knew about COVID-19. He could have told the public to mask up, that there is a problem. We all need to care for each other, just less for precautionary reasons. We have to put these rules in place on a temporary basis where everyone should wear a mask. And if you look at the sciences and you just look this stuff up, there's a huge difference between wearing a mask and not wearing a mask. And I think because of Dr. Fauci and the information that a lot of the news wires, including Fox, have been putting out about the importance of, social distancing and wearing masks, you're finding that now the American public is more informed. Being more informed becomes a problem when revelations come out that the president himself knew. And you find a lot of video that they're pushing out about interviews with the president where he's actually saying it's a hoax. He's saying, the news media, the Democrats are trying to scare everyone. So those are challenges in terms of messaging that the campaign is going to have, or if not, already having.
All right, many thanks. That is Grace Jibril from the Washington State Department speaking to us about the race for the White House as Trump and Joe Biden go out to the campaign trail in the final 2-month stretch to the general election. Let's take a short break here on Bottomline Africa. Still so much more to come on the other side. Let's leave you with Destination Africa.